The story of Operation Valkyrie is one of the most compelling accounts of internal resistance to the Nazi regime. This audacious plan, formulated by high-ranking German officers, was an attempt to assassinate Adolf Hitler and dismantle his brutal dictatorship. The plot, conceived amidst the turmoil of World War II, was not just an act of defiance against tyranny, but also a desperate bid to save Germany from utter destruction. This operation remains one of the most fascinating examples of internal opposition to Hitler, demonstrating the courage and conviction of those who sought to change history. As Nazi Germany plunged deeper into the Second World War, disillusionment grew among some members of the German military and political elite. Hitler's disastrous strategic decisions, particularly his invasion of the Soviet Union and his refusal to consider diplomatic resolutions, led to catastrophic losses. Many within the Wehrmacht began to see that Hitler's leadership was pushing Germany toward ruin. Among them was Colonel Claus von Stauffenberg, a highly decorated officer who initially supported Hitler, but later became convinced that the Führer was leading Germany to inevitable collapse. The seeds of resistance within the German military had existed since the late 1930s. Some officers, including General Ludwig Beck, former head of the German army, and Karl Goerdeler, the former mayor of Leipzig, had been skeptical of Hitler's aggressive foreign policies and sought ways to curtail his power. However, any attempt to openly challenge Hitler was fraught with peril. The Gestapo, Hitler's secret police, had woven a web of surveillance and fear throughout German society, making organized dissent nearly impossible. Despite the dangers, resistance efforts persisted. Various attempts to assassinate Hitler had been made, but all had failed due to bad timing, luck, or lack of coordinated planning. The formation of a structured conspiracy involving military personnel with access to Hitler became the only viable option to remove him from power. This led to the creation of Operation Valkyrie, a plan originally designed as an emergency response to maintain order in Germany in the event of Hitler's death or incapacitation. Operation Valkyrie was originally a contingency plan crafted by the German military to counter internal uprisings or civil disorder. Ironically, it was intended to preserve Nazi rule in case of emergencies such as a revolt by forced laborers or a coup attempt. However, Stauffenberg and his co-conspirators saw an opportunity to modify the plan to serve their purpose. They altered Valkyrie's directives so that, upon Hitler's death, the reserve army would be mobilized not to defend the Nazi regime, but to overthrow it. This modification was crucial to the conspirators' strategy. With Hitler dead, they could claim that the SS and Gestapo had attempted a coup and that the military was taking control to restore order. By leveraging this confusion, they hoped to neutralize Hitler's most loyal followers and install a new government that would negotiate peace with the Allies. Their ultimate aim was to prevent Germany's total destruction in a war they believed was already lost. The plan required meticulous coordination. Key figures in the conspiracy included General Friedrich Olbricht, Colonel Albrecht Merz von Quernheim, and General Henning von Treschow. These men were responsible for ensuring that the altered Valkyrie orders would be executed immediately upon Hitler's assassination. The success of the operation hinged on two critical factors: the assassination of Hitler and the immediate seizure of key government and military positions before the Nazi leadership could retaliate. The task of killing Hitler fell upon Colonel Claus von Stauffenberg, who had recently been appointed Chief of Staff to the Reserve Army. This position provided him with direct access to Hitler's high-level military briefings, giving him the opportunity to place a bomb near the Führer. On July 20, 1944, Stauffenberg attended a meeting at the Wolf's Lair, Hitler's heavily fortified field headquarters in East Prussia. Stauffenberg carried with him a briefcase containing a bomb made of British-manufactured plastic explosives. The plan was simple. He would arm the bomb, place it near Hitler, and then leave the room, ensuring he was safely away when the device detonated. The explosion would eliminate Hitler, and the conspirators in Berlin would immediately activate Valkyrie, seizing control of key institutions. However, several unforeseen events led to the plan's failure. First, due to time constraints, Stauffenberg was only able to arm one of the two explosive devices he had prepared, reducing the bomb's destructive capability. Second, the meeting was moved from an underground bunker, where the blast would have been more contained and lethal, to a wooden barrack, which allowed the explosion's force to dissipate. Finally, a fateful act of chance played a crucial role. Just before the explosion, Colonel Heinz Brandt, an officer in the meeting, inadvertently moved Stauffenberg's briefcase behind a thick wooden table leg. This seemingly minor change absorbed much of the blast, sparing Hitler's life. At 12:42 p.m., the bomb exploded, killing 4 people and injuring many others. Stauffenberg, believing Hitler had perished, fled the scene and returned to Berlin to initiate Operation Valkyrie. However, within an hour, reports confirmed that Hitler had survived. The conspiracy, now based on a false premise, began to unravel. As Stauffenberg arrived in Berlin, he and his co-conspirators activated Valkyrie, issuing orders for the reserve army to seize key locations. At first, their orders were followed, and several SS and Gestapo offices were occupied. However, confusion soon spread as conflicting reports emerged. Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's Minister of Propaganda, quickly regained control of communications and directly contacted military commanders, assuring them that Hitler was alive. Crucially, Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel and General Friedrich Fromm, who had initially wavered in their loyalties, reversed their stance upon realizing Hitler had survived. Fromm ordered the arrest of the conspirators to protect himself from suspicion. As resistance within Berlin crumbled, Stauffenberg and his closest allies were captured. In a desperate attempt to save himself, Fromm hastily organized an immediate execution. On the night of July 20th, 1944, Stauffenberg, Olbricht, Merz von Quernheim, and Werner von Haften were lined up in the courtyard of the Bendler Block, the headquarters of the Reserve Army, and executed by firing squad. As the shots rang out, Stauffenberg's final words were reported to be, "Long live sacred Germany." Hitler, furious over the attempt on his life, unleashed a brutal purge against those suspected of involvement. Over 7,000 people were arrested, and nearly 5,000 were executed. Many were subjected to gruesome show trials at the notorious People's Court, presided over by the fanatical judge Roland Freisler. Among those executed were General Ludwig Beck, Karl Goerdeler, and General Erwin von Witzleben. Even individuals with loose connections to the conspirators were rounded up and sentenced to death or sent to concentration camps. The families of the conspirators were not spared. The Sippenhaft policy, which held relatives accountable for the crimes of their kin, resulted in the imprisonment and execution of many wives, children, and extended family members of those involved in the plot. The repression was swift, merciless, and total. Despite its failure, Operation Valkyrie remains a significant moment in history. It demonstrated that not all Germans supported Hitler's reign of terror, and that there were those willing to sacrifice everything to stop him. Though they did not succeed in changing the course of the war, the conspirators' courage stands as a testament to the moral resistance within Nazi Germany. In post-war Germany, Claus von Stauffenberg and his fellow plotters have been honored as heroes. Their story has been retold in books, films, and historical studies, serving as a powerful reminder of the importance of standing against tyranny. Today, the Bendler Block in Berlin, where Stauffenberg was executed, serves as a memorial site dedicated to the German resistance, ensuring that the bravery of those who fought against Hitler from within is never forgotten.